Mush mush.
Mush mushy. How is Miss Kiki?
Miss Kiki is fine. How are you?
I'm good. It's been pretty busy today, so I may be a little bit quiet until my break.
It's fine. Uh-oh. We don't have Cupcake.
Okay.
Itchy.
All right, so I'm gonna have to let me repost this because I feel like it. Sorry, I'm in a not safe for work writing channel, and I was talking about something I was writing, and like, did you post it? I'm like, I think so.
No, okay.
Where's El Cupcake? Okay, that's you pinged him. All right. Let me go back here. Oh boy.
Ooh, pardon me.
I can't hear you, but. All right. Cupcake! Get your ass in the podcast.
Oh,
Cupcake!
pardon me again. Hey, butthead.
Major butthead. I can't hear him either. It's not just you.
Okay. I'm like, do I have him muted? That would be weird.
Updated the address. I'm like, what was I doing with this account? I'm like, oh yes, that's what I was doing with this thing. All right.
Uh-oh.
Hang on for half a second here. Oh, okay, what is... No, I want to see what this is. Thank you for...
All by myself.
All right. I was like, mute just in case I get a phone call right away, and I didn't, so I'm good.
There's cat hair all over my monitor.
No, you're in charge.
What?
They need to remind you who's in charge.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad this wasn't earlier because, yeah, earlier it was like back-to-back calls. I would not have been able to talk or anything like that. So, yeah.
Damn you, work.
I know.
Why does work have to involve work?
I know, right? I'm supposed to just sit here and look pretty.
Yep.
Which doesn't work at all. It's very easy. Let me actually go back and see if they still have that tag on AO3. Ooh. Ooh, I forgot about that one. Have I looked at this one yet? I'm like very interested. I guess not. 6 chapters. Ooh.
Ugh. It's all windy here, so I have the sniffles too.
Yeah. Yeah, I was giggling. So, usually when you laugh enough and you're sitting there, and sometimes you need to clear the nose.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Thanks for the tail cat.
Baxter does that to hubby too. Like, hubby will get on the ground to, pet Baxter and stuff, and Baxter will be like, "Hi, Dad, give me Robinson." So I'll be sitting there petting him, and then Baxter will turn around and it's like, "Here, Dad, look at my butt," and then smack him in the face with his little tail. So it's like, "Thanks, Baxter. I needed the view of your butt so much. Thank you so much, Baxter. Just what I needed after a day at work, seeing your butt." Thank you for calling.
What's the matter, Ghost?
Ma.
What are you yelling up a storm for? What's the matter, my ghosty boy? My ghosty goo. Oh.
It's like, I must meow at the human. Yes. At the human subject. Yes.
Hello and welcome to the Super Happy Fun Jamatron Tea Party podcast with Kiki, Cupcake, and Miss. Spring has sprung, and all you humans seem confused by it. That has nothing to do with the show, just a general statement. Enjoy the show.
Now
Okay.
there we go. Now it turns green.
Yay!
Wow. There were some pretty serious errors stacking up I could not see.
Well, now we can't see you?
Wow, it doesn't like that. That's weird. Okay, hang on. Weird. Now it's all like, it's so dark. Let's see what happens when the light's on. Watch, whatever this is finally fucking fix the thing with my light being too bright.
Yeah.
Wait, oh, wrong button. No? Way too dark. What the fuck?
And the technical issues continue.
What the hell? Okay, well, let's see something. You're telling me that after all these years, this finally fixed itself? I'm gonna laugh my ass off. Go this way. Oh, wrong button. That's what I want. Oh, I want to play with it. Shut up. There we go. You panel not supported. God damn it. I want to go into it. Stop going on and off! Yeah, yeah. Isn't that how I get in? Okay, fine. Better?
Well, I sort of see your face.
Hang on, I'm working on it.
My light's too bright.
Wow. Suddenly, it's like, hey, it's dark, bro. I'm so confused right now. After all this time, it would finally fix itself. Okay, hang on. Get up. I have my backlighting or whatever turned up to the ceiling because it was always so bright. I can turn it back down.
Hmm.
Ah, that's weird. That would finally fix itself. And not be super duper bright. Ah, whatever. You go that way. Okay. The legs up. Okay.
We all good?
Probably not. Who knows? I'm just a simple cupcake. Here in the darkness, I feel most comfortable of all. He says, we're fully lit up by studio lighting. Okay. Where'd you pull that neato backdrop from?
I bought it off of Amazon.
Yay!
Ooh. Look at you, fancy pants.
Yep.
It reminds me of there is a mug that I bought from the one podcast I listened to. It's called Scared to Death. It's got an Odie face on it and
Ooh.
STD on the other side. So, but I was like, oh, I could always use another coffee mug because I'll drink from it, and it's an Oni, so very nice.
Sorry, Ghost is being a needy shit.
I'm shocked, I tell you.
Well, if you want attention, hold still.
Now! He refuses.
So, how is everybody?
Awesome.
Alive.
Mm. Yeah. That too. Hubby just turned 37.
Yay! Happy birthday, happy!
Woo woo.
What's everybody drinking?
Coke.
I had water, coffee, and then lunch because I made a cake that called for coffee liqueur, so I grabbed Kahlua.
Oh,
So
sure.
I still had half and half. So I'm like lunch. I'm like small little tiny glass of half and half in Kahlua, and yeah. So.
Ooh, fancy.
Mm-hmm.
I have my cup of tea.
Very nice.
We are not brought to you by Lipton, but that would be cool.
Right.
Yeah.
We're not brought to you by any sponsors. Because nobody listens to us.
Well, we do it anyways.
Yep.
Right.
How do we feel about Elon Musk owning the most stock in Twitter currently?
First I heard of it, so
They're going to give him a seat on the board.
Oh, fine.
Well, he's the majority stakeholder, so yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I mean, that's what I'm looking for. Rich people gonna rich.
Yeah.
Oh, when did we get another subscriber? We have 18 instead of 17.
Well, that's cool.
Woo!
Yeah. So I guess people do this.
Yeah, sure. I have no way of telling if that's a bot or not. Well, most of our views come from subscribers, so I guess so. According to this.
Mm.
Nice.
Anywho, Elon Musk is a giant man-child, so I'm a little worried about the freedom of voice that is Twitter. Or a lack of freedom of voice, I should say. Because it's a service, so they have rules.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're pretty pro-freedom. As long as you're not a giant man-child, which Elon Musk is.
Yeah, because there's been some photos I've seen on Twitter that I'm like, yeah, this would not fly on like any other social media platform except for like if it's like specifically like adult rated like. So like, oh look, uncovered genitalia. Okay.
Yes, you can put nudity on Twitter.
Like thumbs up. Okay.
Like when Tumblr fell, many a Tumblr artist went to Twitter because you can post pretty much whatever you want.
Yeah. Just like, ooh, okay.
Well, I mean, universally, all these services eventually go whatever you want to call it, family friendly, because they want to sell more shares, and so slowly but surely they push anything of the adult nature out of every facet of every piece of communication.
And then we move on to the next one. And the next one.
Because apparently parents can't realize they have to actually parent their children.
Well, the biggest problem is that corporations have slowly basically pushed out the next one, so there won't be a next one. They're solidifying their positions.
Valid point.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Fansly was supposed to be for, I think, OnlyFans, and then it like kind of went belly up because it was like, oh no, we want adult entertainment, but not that kind of adult entertainment.
Didn't they pull back on that?
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I think they did. They kind of like realized their mistake, and it was like, yeah, guys, because OnlyFans has never like said they were anything else but what they were.
They did. That's the problem. They were saying they were going to cut way back on hardcore pornography. Like they were basically, because the whole deal is the banking industry determines how all this is working out. Because if you can't take credit card payments, you basically have been deadlocked.
Mm-hmm.
And so the banking companies go, you can do a little bit of porn, but you go beyond a certain point, and we're done. You're not our servicer anymore.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually legitimately why all these services keep dumping anything considered too lewd, for lack of a better word, is that Visa and MasterCard are like, yeah, you can't use us if you're going to be doing that, which basically locks out anybody from being able to pay for the service. And I mean, like, this is one of those few times where I feel like safe harbor should be a thing for credit card companies. It's like, it's important not to support illegal activities, but in the same breath, like, you shouldn't be on the hook unless you're actively promoting something illegal.
Yeah.
Like, that you're the payment servicer shouldn't mean that you're on the hook because somebody, you know, paid for child pornography with a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that.
It looks like a really complicated issue, and then you realize that basically all of this, like, sanitation of mass media, social media, whatever you want to call it, is because credit card and banking companies are like, we're not doing business with pornographers. End of story.
Oh, always fun.
That's why Pornhub got sanitized, like 2-3 years ago, because credit card companies were like, look, you either clean up your shit or you don't get any business.
Yeah.
So they went to that whole deal where you had to be, like, you had to have an IRS business license to post your pornography on the website.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you couldn't be an independent contractor anymore.
Quote unquote.
I don't know what you want to call it.
You can't have your own page. You have to, like, subsidize yourself as a business first. You can't just hop on there. And
no, you had to be registered with the U.S. government is what it really came down to.
Yeah. It's like, you have to register.
You could be a cam girl, but you better have an IRS number or your ass is grass, motherfucker.
Yeah. I just get reminded of, like, as I know with the Golden Compass series or his Dark Materials trilogy, there was a lot of, like, thank you for calling the USGA.
That's interesting. There was a lot of USGA, huh? I'll keep that one in mind for later.
I know that franchise, and I'm not sure where she was going.
Right. I don't know that franchise, but I don't know what the USGA had to do with any of it, so I'll just
I'll just pretend and selling of souls.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes.
As if one could contain a human soul. Such a funny joke.
Cupcake, why do idiots have to be lawmakers?
Because they're old and out of touch with society. And soon will be old and out of touch with society.
Did you see that GOP-backed bill about legal marriage?
Now what?
Here, let me look at it. First off, they want to go back to the whole heterosexual marriage thing, but...
What? To abolish age limit on heterosexual marriage? That's not even...
Okay, now that I'm off the call, sorry, I don't know if I'm going to repeat. So I know part of the reason why that it was so controversial was the whole thing about the religion, et cetera, et cetera. Not going to get into it too much, but I just remember talking about when the movie came out with Nicole Kidman and Daniel Craig. And so one of my coworkers was like, I don't want my nephew to see this, or what, like someone like her kid or her nephew, something, because all he's going to see is a talking polar bear and think it's so cool. And I just remember sitting there thinking, that's why it's called parenting. Because if you feel like that child is not mature enough to understand what is behind the book series, don't introduce him to the movie. That's what's called parenting. Because granted, like the movie and maybe to a smaller extent TV shows, because sometimes TV shows can, because they have multiple episodes, can include more of the book series or anime series or whatever than a movie can, because a movie has like 2.5 hours to try to tell the story, but they simplify things. So they're not going to get necessarily all the context of what is in that book in that movie, but still, it's called parenting. If you feel like your child should not be watching this movie, don't take them to see the movie.
But I don't want a parent.
But that's too much work. I know.
I work in building supplies. It's a shock that people can even breathe on their own power, let alone fucking think.
I know. I'm fully well aware. Like
my faith in humanity is held by tenuous strings because people literally will ask me, "How do I do the illegal thing?" Well, ask an electrician. Well, they told me I can't do it because it's illegal. Oh, there you go. Well, how do I do it? Well, Google's your friend. I don't like computers. They scare me. Okay. My newest line has been, look, I'm a car salesman, not a mechanic. When your car's making a weird noise, you don't walk up to the dealership and go, how do I fix my car?
Yeah.
I've actually got a couple people go at me and go, son of a bitch, you're right.
Yeah. And I saw someone I went to high school with. She has like a couple of small children, like probably ages 3 to 7,
Right.
And the whole turning red thing, where it has, the whole thing about, it
it's
talks
a coming
about
of age story about, yeah.
And so it's like, she actually watched the movie before she let her kids watch it. And then she explained it in and on Facebook, this is like the holy grail of like reasonable arguments. And she's like, and so from what I took from that is, I'm like, you watch the movie as you're supposed to do as a responsible parent, and you know your children, and you went and got, my children are not old enough to watch this movie yet. They're not going to watch a movie right now because of their maturity level and their understanding of the subject matter that is dealt with in this movie. I'm like, thank you. Applause,
it's all about age too. I mean, like,
yeah.
I mean, I always go back. My go-to on this conversation every time it comes up, and like children not being mentally prepared for adult movies. I'm like, I was 10 years old. My father took me to see motherfucking Mortal Kombat in theaters. Maybe I was 8. I forget. But the point being is, I was the only boy. I was the only kid in my class that saw it, and everybody freaked the fuck out. My dad went, he knows what he's looking at. He understands it's fantasy. Calm down.
Exactly.
My father, God bless his soul, prevented me from viewing very few things because he was like, "Do you understand what you're getting into?" I'm like, "I think so." He's like, and he would talk to me about shit. It's like, it's why I never got lost in hard drugs or anything, because it was like, do you understand the dangers of this? Not fully. He's like, well, I do, and here's what you should watch out for. I'm like, that sounds terrible. I don't think I'm going to do that. He's like, great. That problem was solved right then and there.
Yeah, good parenting is essentially both listening to your children and teaching your children, and not just expecting the world to teach them because you send them out into it, and you don't expect their teachers to teach them everything, or other adults to teach them everything, or
right.
But
sorry.
Yeah, lots of parents seemingly, or at least parents with loud voices, I should say. I shouldn't say lots of parents because I don't know the statistics. Seem to think that other people are supposed to be parenting their children. And when they do it in a way they don't like, they get mad.
Right.
How dare you do that thing to my child that I allowed you to do?
How dare you expose my child to that adult content? Well, why were you not, like, making sure they weren't digging into things you didn't want them to dig into? Like, what do I know? I'm just a simple fisherman.
Yeah, I know, like, I'm just glad that, like, as I don't really remember too much, because I know there was stuff that my parents didn't let us watch, obviously.
Right.
But, like, I got, and I'm just glad that I guess, my parents, like, showed, like, let's go to the library, and let's go hiking, and let's go, etc. And I just immediately went, I'm going to read as my, like, support system or my placebo instead of going to, like, drugs or alcohol or whatever or other dangerous activities. I was like, oh, let's just go to reading, and I'm going to read, and that will be my escape.
Reading is a wonderful escape.
It is.
Reading is important. Read banned books, people.
Yes. Always. Banned books. There's
Also, I
reason
like to
why
state,
ban them.
being almost done with the first Lord of the Rings book after not having read it since before the movies came out 20 years ago. Holy shit, there's a whole ton of stuff they left out.
Oh, yeah.
Holy shit. They're just getting ready to leave Lothlorien, and it's like, there's a whole ton of lore that just gets kind of dumped on the floor in the movies.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. 100%. 110%.
The fact that the one that stuck out to me was Elrond has sons who interact with the party.
Yes.
Who are never even brought up in the movie.
Yeah, and if you notice, when they first get when Arwen rise up with Frodo racing against the ring wraiths in the movies,
right?
That's not Arwen. You don't see Arwen in the books until you get to
they get to Rivendell. Yeah.
So that is someone who is complete. It's an elvish man who shows up, grabs Frodo, and rides off.
Doesn't even ride off. He puts him on his horse, and the horse takes him.
Yeah.
He's like following behind. They're holding the ring race at the one side of the river while they're waiting for the quote unquote power of elvish lands to protect them.
Yeah.
And he tells the horse basically, go to Rivendell, take him to Elrond. And the horse, with all swiftness runs. And like the last thing Frodo sees before he goes unconscious is the river roaring towards the ring race.
Yeah, the river horsies. Right.
Which frigging Gandalf explains in detail what that was all about when he wakes up. He's like he does the whole line about it's November the 3rd and blah blah blah. And he's like Gandalf, I saw horses in the torrent. And he's like, oh, that was my doing. I was very proud of that. Like, you dork.
Dorcas.
He's like, I figured those undead monsters should have something to think about when I sent them back to their dark master.
Yes.
But
they're just walking past her house. It's okay.
Like the whole thing with like when they're in Lothlorien and or they're going into Lothlorien, they're in the Elvish forest and like they spend a night in a tree house basically, or like a platform when the orcs go by basically, or following them. And there's a whole thing of the first time you see Gollum in the book, he's climbing up the tree, and then the guy that brought them up into the tree, the elf is like, I don't know what that thing was, but as soon as I looked at it, it ran away. And Frodo's just like, yeah, that was weird. I don't know what the hell that thing was.
I think that's Balder. I think. I know exactly. I can imagine his face from the movie because he's one of my favorite characters.
Yeah, because he's the one that tells them in the movie that they breathe so loud that they could have picked him off from 100 paces.
Yeah.
And the whole thing about they have to walk blindfolded through their forest and like everybody's pissed. And like it's implied that this is the beginning of Gimli and Legolas's friendship, is the whole deal about the being blindfolded. Because Legolas is like, I'm one of your kinsmen. Why are you making me be blindfolded? And he's like, basically he's like, we're not blindfolding the dwarf because I'm not going blindfolded.
Yeah, that was just. I'm like, I love him so much. He's just, oh. And then, oh my god, they had to kill him off in the movie. I just, oh.
Well, because like they get to the river that protects the Lothlorien, and like there's a whole thing about like they meet up with more of like the dude's kinsman, and he's like, okay, take him off. Like, you know, Elrond's messengers made it to the Lady Galadriel, and like they've decided that you are like, we have more information about you. We know you're not enemies.
Yeah.
And like Gimli's like, well, I could have told you that.
Gimli is just great.
Sorry, I had a phone call.
I didn't even know.
But yeah, there's a whole shit ton of lore that just doesn't make it to the movie.
Well, there's like a 20-minute conversation before the Council of the Ring in which Gandalf, Elrond, and I feel like Aragorn discuss using Tom Bombadil to take care of the ring.
I remember that now. Like I said, it's been a while. I have to reread the book.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, dude, it's been over 2 decades, because the last time I read the books was before the movies came out. And I was like, you know, listening to Andy Serkis, you know, basically tell the story, I'm going like, wait, what? Like, what is this? Like, there's a whole conversation about using Tom Bombadil to like, he actually, like, in the books, he covers all of the angles that people, like, in the movies are like, well, why did they do this? It's like, well, they brought it up in the books. There's a whole thing where Gandalf recalls the King of the Eagles picking him up from Isengard, and he's like, they're like, well, why didn't the Eagles just take it there? And he's like, the Eagles won't go anywhere near Mordor. Like, yeah. Like, they don't want to die. They know if they go anywhere near Mordor, they will die. So they're just like, no, I'm not doing this.
Exactly.
Like, he tells Frodo, like, the Eagles are not, like, the Eagles are more than happy to help us with everything they can, but, like, they don't have a death wish. They're not going into Mordor.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about when they, like, you know, like, they're like, oh, well, they saved him, like, after, like, yeah, well, that was after they destroyed the Dark Lord. Like, of course they weren't afraid to go in when everything is in chaos. No one's gonna shoot them.
Yeah.
I'm just really interested by, like, the whole idea of, like, all the things in the movies that they, like, poke fun of, like, well, there's a plot hole here. There really wasn't in the book. He covered all of the possible avenues that they could have taken before they decided to basically walk the ring to Mordor. And they're like, there's no good way to do this. And, like, the whole thing with them going through the Mines of Moria, like, they didn't have a choice. Like, there was no other way to get through the mountains.
Yeah. Like, they actually, like, show that. Like, it's Saruman who blocks them from going through the pass. They show that. And then it's kind of, I can't remember if it's implied in the movies, but I'm like, it's implied that it would take too goddamn long for them to walk around.
Right.
Like, it would take them months, if not at least a year, to walk around the Misty Mountains and then come back down.
Right.
In which there's Saruman, there's and all his critters, there's the goblins, there's the orcs, there's the Uruk-hai. So, we're trying to get here as quickly as possible. We're just going through. If we can't go through and over, we have to go through and under.
Right.
So... Because by the time they're like at the Misty Mountain or by the Mines of Moria, like Saruman already like started building his army. So like, and he is pushing.
Right.
So yeah, they could have gone around, but by the time they went around,
right.
Yeah. And at that point, they still had Merry and Pippin. And Merry and Pippin were the two pebbles that started the rock slide of the Ents, taking out Saruman.
Right.
And setting the trees to go help with Rohan.
Right.
So...
Well, like, Gandalf, like, he even brings up the King of Rohan being, like already being corrupted. Because they were like, well, why couldn't we go through the past and run? And like, we don't know that the Rohan are on our side right now. They're like, ugh.
Yeah. It's like, and what people don't realize is that Gandalf has been playing like 4D chess since before The Hobbit. Like, I'm like, people forget, and that's on purpose. And people forget that Gandalf is a freaking angel, and his job is to protect Middle Earth. Like, that's his job. Like, why are you taking the dwarves to the Lonely Mountain? Because that'll help get rid of the fucking dragon.
Right.
That's why.
Well, it's like there's this moment in the books I don't remember even I don't remember being a scene in the movies where when they first get to Lothlorien, Celeborn is like, "Where's Gandalf? What what happened to him?" And they like have to very like politely try to explain that he died protecting them from the Balrog, and he's like, "What a fool to die a foolish way," or something like that. And Galadriel's like, "Are you fucking on drugs?" Like, I don't remember exactly what she says, but she just like looks at her husband. She's like, "Do you understand that for him to fall in battle means that he was fighting something on the level of like a demigod?"
Yeah. It's like it's like husband.
Right.
And it's like Gandalf is on par with me. Maybe a little bit lower than me. Because Galadriel is Galadriel, and she's a fucking badass.
Right.
But, like, he is on... When he pulls out all the stops and drops the mask and pulls out all the stops, he's on par with us, you fucking idiots. Hello?
Well, like, without knowing anything about the background of who Gandalf is, like, what he says to the Balrog when they're fighting on the bridge doesn't make a lot of sense until you realize what he's saying is absolutely terrifying. Like, if you understand what he said, what he means by when he says what, like, his last words before they fight, it's like, oh shit, like, galactic level battle going down.
Yeah. Like, I hold the fire ring. Like, I think that's what he has.
He has the ring of fire. Yeah, because I think it's Galadriel has the ring of water and Elrond has the ring of air.
Yeah. So it's like, hello. But again, unless you read the books, which I'm not knocking people who don't.
No, yeah, I'm not either. It's just like,
you don't understand how badass he is until he becomes Gandalf the White. And then you don't understand how badass he was as Gandalf the Grey. He was still badass as Gandalf the Grey.
Right.
Like, as we said before, he just sat back and let Saruman take the head wizard position.
Right.
So he could bumble around the countryside and help protect the world like he felt like he could do. That was what he could do. That was what he felt like he was best at doing. Now sitting in a fucking tower, being aloof.
Yeah. It says, as spoken directly by Tolkien in a essay describing Gandalf, warm and eager was his spirit. For he was the enemy of Sauron, opposing the fire that devours and wastes with the fire that kindles and succors in wan hope and distress. His joy, his swift wrath, were veiled in garments gray as ash, so only those who knew him will glimpse the flame that was within. Merry he could be, and kindly to the young and simple, yet quick at times, sharp of speech, and rebuking of folly. He was not proud and sought neither power nor praise. Mostly he journeyed tirelessly on foot, laying on a staff, so he could call among men of the north Gandalf the elf of the wand, for they deemed him through error to be of elven kind, since he would work at time wonders among them. Lovingly especially the beauty of fire, and yet such marvels he wrought mostly for mirth and delight. Desired not that any should hold him in awe or take his counsel out of fear. It is said that in the ending of the task for which he came, he suffered greatly and was slain, sent back from death for a brief while clothed in white and became a radiant flame. Yet veiled still in great need. That's right, because when he comes back, he's still wearing the great cloak.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and that's like the biggest thing where it's like between like him and Saruman. Saruman thinks it takes people like Aragorn or Boromir to stand against such a tyrant. Right? But Gandalf is like, why are we waiting for it to get to the point where we need a great fucking hero to stand against the great evil? Let's take a little bit of step here, step there. Because if Smaug wasn't dead, holy crap. Can you imagine how much worse?
Right.
Emissary of Sauron goes and so Smaug, the mighty and powerful. Here's what we can offer you if you come to fight for us. And all he has to do is fly around and set fire to a bunch of shit. And all he has to do to keep people occupied. And if Gandalf had been like, let's take the first step in the great adventure of getting back Erebor for the dwarves, well, the Wraith King would have been the least of his worries. Like, seriously.
Right.
Of all the servants of Sauron, not at least your worries. Like, it's pretty up there, but this dragon is flying around causing chaos. Yeah.
Right.
And even if they were able to like defeat Sauron, like and miss, Smaug, right? Ooh.
Well, it's even implied like Smaug is terrifying and imposing and all that stuff, but he's not even like full grown, quote unquote. Like,
yeah.
He's like he's an adult dragon, but he's a young adult dragon. That there was a black dragon they refer to that was like 10 times his size.
Yeah, like when he died, when the black dragon died and fell to the earth, like he shattered mountains under his book. So like, but even then, like, even if you somehow defeat Sauron without defeating Smaug first, you still have to deal with Smaug.
Right.
And awake Smaug. Because before then, before The Hobbit, and throughout most of The Hobbit, that motherfucker's asleep.
Right.
Sauron wakes him up. Oh, right. Like,
yeah, they imply that he'd been sleeping since he took the Misty Mountains, basically.
Yeah. So you have to sit there and go, because it's also implied that, like, in the books, it said that Aragorn had to, like, after he was coronated and all that jazz, he basically spent a good deal of the years after his coronation mopping up what remained of Sauron's army. Right. So not only would he had to do that, he would have had to been like, okay, how the fuck do we deal with this dragon? Like,
oh, it's the same deal that happens at the end of the Belgariad books, or actually the Malorian, where Belgarian, Overlord of the West, and Tol Zakath, Emperor of Boundless Meloria, which are basically the equivalents of each other on the east and west continent, are basically told, you will spend the rest of your existences mopping up the mess that the Dark God left behind.
Yeah. So, like, it's like, oh my gosh. Because, yeah, like, Sauron falling, check out a good deal of that army that was right there, right?
Right.
But that doesn't include anything that lives in, like, the Misty Mountains or around the Mines of Moria.
Right.
Or anything like, or like any remnants of any of the armies.
They bring up in the books that Mirkwood had been for because they don't, it's not clear in the movies, but in the books, like, it's been a long time since Bilbo's adventure to the Lonely Mountain, and like that the men and elves had basically come to an agreement, come to a truce, and we're working together to keep the lands along the river and then Mirkwood clear of monsters, and had been that way for decades before they started reappearing after the battle of the Necromancer's Tower.
Yeah.
Which is only alluded to in The Hobbit and barely mentioned in Lord of the Rings, but is apparently a huge event in between that is barely discussed.
Yeah.
Because this is how Sauron is driven out of Mirkwood and into Mordor.
Yeah. Like, it's a battle scene in the Hobbit movies.
Yeah, in the movies they actually draw out the battle, but it's only alluded to that that's where Gandalf was during the whole infiltration of the Misty Mountains.
Yeah.
That they was with Galadriel and Elrond, they were and Saruman, they were busy dealing with the spirit of the necromancer.
Yeah. And it's funny because in the other server when we were doing our watch through of all the Lord of the Rings movies and the Hobbit movies, and we're on the Return of the King, and we're at the point where Shelob shows up, right?
Right.
And so the server owner, Kate, he brought up a good point. He was like, so, anybody remember these spiders from The Hobbit? Those are her babies. I was like, yep. It's like, yeah, so like kind of showing you like the reach of, and I was like, yeah, and basically Shelob is basically Sauron's Mordor guard dog.
Right.
Like, on that way through.
Yeah. All entries into northern Mordor are protected by either orcs, the wraiths, monsters like the giant spider Shelob. Like, he doesn't leave any of it avenues into his land free of defense. There's always something defending the paths into Mordor.
Yeah.
What's really fucky is the air. Once you get into Mordor, before you even get to the part you always see in the movies, it's fire and brimstone. It's the undying swamps or whatever, and they're horrifyingly hard to get through.
Oh,
the only reason that the hobbits do is because Schmeagol, Gollum, is with them.
Oh yeah, totally 100%. It's kind of like any other marsh. You lose your way, or you follow the lights, and you're lost. And then the spirits who reside there from the last Great War, 3,000 years before, of all the elves and orcs and stuff and men, they will get you. They will 100% get you. And so it's the only reason that Smeagol knows is because he was captured and tortured in Mordor for a while and then found his way out that way. Or he was allowed to find his way out. Whatever you feel like thinking is he was or found his way out or he was allowed to find his way out.
Well, I think the whole deal is that Smeagol has lived for so long or Gollum has lived for so long that he basically has traveled the world.
Yeah.
He also, it's also discussed that basically part of the reason they were able to get through the swamps was Sauron, in some sense, Sauron could sense that they were in Mordor, but not where. and wanted them to get close enough that he could basically mop them up, and then the swamps would be difficult. So instead of waiting, instead of like sending orcs or trolls or wraiths in to try to find them, he let them get through the swamp where it would be easier to pick them up.
Makes sense.
Of course, what ends up happening is that right at that time, the forces of the West basically mass on his front gate, and then he gets distracted, and that's how they get the last 20 leagues to Mount Doom.
Yeah, like the last stand.
Right. At least that's how it was explained to me, is that basically he knew that the hobbits were there, but he was not concerned because it was two hobbits and Gollum. He's like, eventually they'll come close enough that my forces will pick them up. And then it was, oh shit, there's a giant army at my front gate. Hang on a second, I'll get back to them. And while he's busy fighting, they climb Mount Doom and dump the ring in the fire.
Yeah. So, and also, it has allowed me to, when in that server, I was watching the movie, that allowed me to geek out, because I'm like,
right.
If you guys remember, Gandalf telling Frodo that the pity of Bilbo may change the world yet, or something like that. So, yeah, Bilbo's pity, when he was looking at Smeagol with the ring on, and Smeagol couldn't see him, and he had the opportunity to run him through with Sting, and he didn't, because he pitied Smeagol. And if Bilbo had not pitied Smeagol, Frodo would have put that ring on that large thing, that large rock that's platform that stuck out over the lava rivers.
Right.
And went on his merry way. And if it wasn't for Smeagol there being a jealous SOB to bite his index finger off.
Right.
And then fall off, well, things would have turned out a whole lot different.
Well, what's really funny is that if Smeagol wasn't, or if Gollum wasn't there, at the very last moment that Frodo finally falls to the power of the ring, and he no longer has the energy to say no, and he's like, "It's my precious." And it's at that moment that Gollum comes charging and knocks Sam over, and gets in a tussle with Frodo for the ring, and then bites his finger off for the ring. He's like, "Ah ha ha! Oh shit! I'm going in the lava."
Yeah. Now, granted, I saw something that someone pointed out that if it wasn't for Sam, Frodo wouldn't have made it. And I'm like, I kind of agree with that. But also Sam.
Yeah, he only made it because Sam was there.
Yeah. And Sam only went because Gandalf was like, okay, fine. And so again, another thing of serendipity, where if things had not fallen out the way that they had. And also, Sam is a gardener.
Right. Well, and it's hilarious. His punishment for eavesdropping while Gandalf is telling Frodo about the ring is that he has to go with him. It's not that he even asks. He goes, you will accompany him to Rivendell, because he had said how much he wanted to see the world. He's like, fine. He's like, you'll take him to Rivendell. And, that was really the plan, was just to basically he was going to come here to Rivendell, and after that he would be with the Fellowship of the Ring, so he wouldn't need as much protection. But then basically the hobbits are such good friends that they all stick together basically the rest of the story.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so somehow it ends up that these small people who you don't think are gonna make the most difference do make the most difference. And that's kind of the whole point of Tolkien's work a little bit is the small things and the small people that make the difference in the world.
Right.
It's
the little actions that add up to big change.
Yeah. You can come up here if you want. Come on. Thank you. Is that so? Is that your opinion, sir? Yeah. Yeah. Hi, yeah. Oh, is it your toy? Is that what you're telling me, huh? Okay. Okay, good. Good job. Good job. But yeah. Yeah. Yes, I know the package was delivered. Thank you very much. Because I was standing there as the guy walked up.
Right.
Because I heard the dog barking, and I was like, "Now you wander this way." Ah, yes, there's the Amazon man.
Right.
So, let me see here. But yeah, that's like, and then I remember like typing out, and that is how Frodo got his moniker of Frodo the Nine-Fingered.
Right.
That right there.
Right.
Frodo the Nine-Fingered.
Right.
And again, if you don't read the books, you don't realize that after quite a long time, Sam also goes to the Grey Havens.
Yeah.
Because that's where all the ring bearers go. And he bore the ring for however much time it was that he thought Frodo was dead, and they had to go find Frodo, and
Right.
And of course they had to put pants on Frodo in the movie because, well, they can't go with the book and show him in his birthday suit.
Right.
Apparently, they need to keep it PG-13, so let's just show him with his pants on and dirty, grimy shit.
Right. Right.
What am I thinking? Yeah. So. Although I do love like all the memes that come out of Orlando Bloom's Legolas faces.
Well, that's just his faces in general. If you see him in Pirates of the Caribbean, it doesn't say that he makes faces in the background.
Yeah.
Like when he's not talking, he just makes silly faces.
Didn't he admit in an interview that he was never quite sure what was going on?
I'm not sure.
Entirely possible.
Yeah. Possible.
I mean, I'm certainly not questioning it.
Yeah.
I question everything.
That's a lie and you know it.
Do you really mean that?
Sure, why not? Let's go for broke. Says the Nightwalker drinking his Mountain Dew Zero. I'm trying not to slug energy drinks as often, so I've been weaning myself off by drinking regular cola and shit. Not regular cola, but you know what I'm saying? Like, just drinking regular, like, standard caffeinated soda. Because I have been drinking a lot of caffeine to try to stay awake lately. But yeah, that's really what's kind of dominated my existence, is listening to that audiobook and trying to get through it so that I can move on to the next one. That, and I started watching Girls Last Tour. I'm only like 3-4 episodes in because I have the concentration of a goldfish. But it's been cute. A little bit I've watched.
Rawr.
Rawr indeed.
Rawr.
So, Colorado guaranteed abortion rights under state law.
Well, that's good.
But on the flip side, Oklahoma just outright banned it.
Of course.
So, yay and boo.
Was it with, like, the South and just being like, Yes. We're going to revert to pre-1950s America.
Which I've seen.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, like, I remember, like, someone pointing out, like, all right, you want pre-1950s America, right? Okay. So
Right.
that means that you have to be the one to go to work, make all the money, and you have no time with the family that you so desperately want.
Right.
Because you're working all the time because you're the only one who can make the money. So, yeah. I just love how, like, apparently there's like a response, or I'm not sure if it's an actual response or just like a meme response to the Don't Say Gay bill, where it's like, thank you, we're removing any books and other educational material that refers to father, mother, husband, wife, he, she, because it might be referring to sexuality. We will be referring to all children as they, them, and they will be referring to me as mixed. So and so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that article. That was interesting.
So it was like, but we're following the law.
Right.
We're just removing all educational materials. And we are not calling your child he or she. They're they, them.
I just enjoy the whole concept of the right has decided that anything that is LGBTQ plus whatever friendly is like liberal brainwashing.
Oh my god.
Yeah, essentially. What station is making their own children's content to get away from the woke America? I forget. It's one of the right-wing networks, but I can't remember the name of it.
Right.
Because I don't watch it, obviously.
Yeah.
Right.
I would go look for the news article, but my news aggregator is down. No.
Oh no.
So apparently Morbius is bad. Morbius? Morbius. Is that how you say it?
Possibly?
The new Marvel movie?
Oh, that one. No clue.
With vampire Jared Leto?
Oh. Fun.
I mean, it's making money, but everybody says it's bad, but everybody's still seeing it, so...
Right.
It can't be that bad.
This movie is... this TV show is terrible. We're still watching it, though.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry. I'm gonna get back at work, so I'm semi distracted. I'm like, okay, all this stuff.
How
Right.
dare you do your work? For shame. WrestleMania was last weekend. It was...
Oh yeah, how was that? I didn't even bother.
The women's matches were great. Everything else was kind of subpar. I mean,
I'm shocked, I tell you.
Instead of having two of their titles on the card, they had two matches with Logan Paul.
Right.
And what's his name? The guy from Jackass?
Oh, Johnny Knoxville?
Yes.
They had him back again?
Yes, he fought Sami Zayn. He won by using a giant mousetrap.
Well, they told Johnny that he couldn't do that anymore, that he literally was going to die.
Well, he didn't really do any stunts or anything.
Oh, okay.
He wrestled a bit.
Because when he was at Royal Rumble, after that his doctors told him that if he did any more serious physical activity, it could kill him.
No, it was more of a plug for Jackass than anything else.
Okay.
Because the rest of the team helped.
Okay.
Because it was a no DQ match.
Oh, sure. Okay.
So, what is the small person's name?
Wee Man?
Wee Man lifted Sami Zayn, so that was a bit of a thing to see.
Right. Well, Wee Man's strong, dude.
Apparently. I have no idea who the rest of the people were, but yeah, it was not great. Nor was the Rey Mysterio, Damien Mysterio versus The Miz and Logan Paul. That happened.
Okay.
I will give that Logan Paul tried, but I can't forgive the things Logan Paul has done. That, and it was just another match that took away from somebody with a title to have a match.
Right.
So we didn't see the Intercontinental title or the American title at WrestleMania. Instead, we saw those two shitstorms. Oh, and Cody Rhodes is back in WWE.
Okay.
Because AEW wouldn't pay him enough, because he's just not the greatest wrestler of all time. He's not a terrible wrestler, but he's not like the greatest.
Right. So what? 6 to 12 months, he's back running the circuit because WWE doesn't do anything with him.
I don't know what kind of contract he signed, but apparently it allowed him to be the type of wrestler he wanted to be, and it paid him well enough.
Well, fair enough.
But contracts are usually only for a couple years. Sometimes even shorter than that, especially if you're new.
Right.
So, and he has to be a good boy, so.
Okay.
Yeah, other than that.
Right.
Thank you once again for listening to the Super Happy Fun Jamatron Tea Party podcast with Kiki, Cupcake, and Miss. Thank you for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful spring. Farewell, my fellow internet beings.